So, hi folks, I'm Steve Atkinson. I'm the CEO of ChestPal. We're a digital health deep tech company involved in the respiratory space. And as you can see from this slide, our mission really is to transform respiratory care. So, our founder, we have a female founder, Helena Binetskaya. Her daughter had numerous respiratory problems when she was a child. And Helena found that she was taking her to see the GP, the primary care physician, and who then referred her to another physician, who then referred her to another physician. She went to the ED, and then got referred eventually to an expert pulmonologist. And Helena, being an engineer, she's a software validation engineer, she figured that this is probably solvable through tech. And her kind of purpose for this was to allow everybody to have the same, the access to the expertise of a pulmonologist, even at the primary care level. And hence, she then set about developing. This is what we've developed. As I said, ChestPal, we're pretty much a deep tech company. We have a AI neural network in the cloud with a patented system and method for the detection of lung sounds. We have an app which is just a thin client between the cloud and the device. We have a small device which is like a puck, which goes onto the chest and gives a reading in 5 seconds, a result in 5 seconds. It's instantaneous technology. And the business model is SaaS. Whilst we have a small charge for the device is very low cost. Most of our revenue over time comes through the SaaS model. By the way, the SaaS is per registered user, not per device. So, for example, in a clinic, there might be, say, 30 doctors. All 30 may take out a subscription to use the device, but there may only be, say, 10 devices in that clinic because they're not all working at the same time. So what does it do? So it detects lung sounds, and in the US, our indication is for healthcare professional use to detect crackles and wheezes as an aid to the diagnosis of respiratory conditions. And I'll get onto the next slide, and I'll explain why crackles and why wheeze. We have peer-reviewed published clinical evidence in two articles in the European Respiratory Journal, which is a very high-ranking journal in the field. The device provides audible and visual results, and those can be shared over any common application, so WhatsApp, Messenger, anything, and it's all HIPAA compliant. We also store the results, so you can review them if you want to, and it's so easy to use, even non-experts can use the device. So you could have a nursing home who's going to really have no training on use of a stethoscope, could place the device on a patient with, who's struggling to breathe a little bit and see if there's a pneumonia present. In those vulnerable groups, the elderly and the young, those are particularly our target audience. So the problem, why do you use a stethoscope for lungs and what the problems are? Crackles is indicative of fluid on the lungs. And that fluid is either a response to like an immune response to an infection. If it's in one place, then that's a pneumonia. If it's all across the lower lobes of the lungs, sorry about that with my microphone, then it's indicative of a heart failure, congestive heart failure. And then you go on to, and sometimes you get mixed with COPD. Wheezes, narrowing of the airways, and it causes wheezing, and that's asthma, deep wheezes, COPD. So that's what we call rhonchi. So those are what they're trying to hear, but subjectivity is the problem, and the ability to hear it. It's very difficult, and if you look at the results, there's weak performance. An average clinician, according to the clinical data, is missing 4 out of every 10 diagnoses with their stethoscope. A pediatrician is missing almost 4, the 3.5, but the pulmonologist is almost 80%. So the pulmonologist, you can see the difference why Helena got the results with a pulmonologist. So we solved that problem our clinical results and a validation study published is 87.2 average across all lung sounds, and some of them are much higher. So we have like a 95% accuracy across all per class and so forth. We give high sound quality and a visual spectrogram. So as I said, non-expert users can use it. The size of the market? Well, respiratory is the largest cause of presentation to the ED, no surprise, because doctors are sending them to the ED because they can't hear the lung sounds properly. 60% of clinicians have told us that they send their patients to the ED when they can't hear the lung sounds properly. So that creates this big market of unnecessary presentations, which the insurers are paying for in the US. And that alone, as you can see there, is $5.6 billion. In unnecessary cost. And then for COPD and asthma, the poor management of COPD and asthma results in $8.7 billion of avoidable hospitalizations. 85% of clinicians say they believe that a stethoscope for lung sounds will have a significant impact on the reduction of ED visits. And there are also a growing number of clinicians using these sorts of devices. What does that mean for us? Well, we just narrow it down to say just 1 million of these users, and that's about 10% of the market. That's a 750 million business in a 5-year period, and a lot of that is SaaS, so it's repeat business. I'm not going to go through all our target audience, but you can imagine anyone who uses a stethoscope to listen to lung sounds is a target. We've got a really good team. I know everyone said it, but we have an experienced team. There's Helena there, but Suzanne Judd. Suzanne Judd was the head of respiratory. She launched GSK. She launched the respiratory biologic globally for them. Paige's background, intuitive surgical, stereotaxis, and then she's done some startups. We have a small office in Atlanta as well. And then our KOL is Alexander Machidakis, who is editor of Cochrane Airways, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the editor of Cochrane. It's the #1 clinical review group. So last slide, in terms of where we've done, I'm not going through all the stuff on the left because we've sort of done this. I will say on this is Q4, we're expecting to complete this final seed round, and there's about 750 in that seed round left. In fact, I think I've just raised about 130 in the last 2 weeks, so it's coming down all the time. That takes us through to Q2 next year, and then when we expect to launch our Series A, and that Series A funds the launch of our heart diagnosis product, and then after that, my ChestPal for the COPD and asthma users to manage their conditions. So that's the home use, and we have to do a 510K for that as well, and for chronic management, and that's reimbursed. So then we get into the reimbursed market. 2026 positive cash flow for the company is projected. We're not burning a lot of cash. Our Series A raise is expected to be in the region of sort of 5 to 10, depending on how much we can prove our data in the meantime. We've got 15 US accounts we're talking to right now, some very big ones, who want to kind of try to buy the product, if you know what I mean, sort of trial to buy. And if we can convert a couple of those accounts, we can see how many doctors use it, how many nurses, physician's assistants, and so forth, generate the data, use that data for our Series A valuation, and the higher valuation, the more capital we raise to really scale the company and get to that profitability much quicker. Well, that's really it. In 2027, our SaaS revenue exceeds our little device revenue, so we become predominantly a SaaS company, and we projected very conservatively sort of 34, 35 million at a 30% EBITDA at that point in time, and then we get that decision, because good things happen to great companies, right? If we can build a great company, good things will happen, and we'll have a choice. We either scale further, get more money, do another raise, or we'll exit. But that's what we're aiming for at that time. And that is it. Any questions? There's our contact details on there. Love to have anyone invest, particularly in this little 750 seed round now, but anything, any Series A investors as well. Thank you very much.